So today, we're looking at single-player games that are 100% worth the full price, which, to be honest, should be the standard, but is pretty rare these days. You know, the ones you buy and immediately think, yep, this was worth every penny. Basically, games with awesome stories, smooth gameplay, and moments that just stick with you. The kind you can dive into, get completely lost in, and never feel like you wasted your money. Let's check them out. Kingdom Come: Deliverance 2. If you played the first game, you already know what you're getting into. No magic, no over-the-top fantasy, just pure medieval chaos. And this sequel, it's bigger, better, and somehow even more immersive. The world feels insanely real. Towns are livelier, forests are thicker, and NPCs don't just stand around waiting for you. They actually exist. They wake up, go to work, eat, drink, and react if you're running around like a lunatic. It's like stepping into an actual medieval world where people have their own problems, and you're just another guy trying to survive. Combat has been fine-tuned, and thank God for that. The first game's fighting was cool but kinda clunky, especially when dealing with multiple enemies. Now things flow better. Swordplay still requires skill, no mindless button mashing here, but attacks feel smoother, and fighting 2 or 3 guys at once doesn't feel like instant death anymore. And the story, so Henry's back, and his journey picks up right where the last game left off. The writing feels even more natural, the voice acting is solid, and the quests are so much more dynamic. You can talk your way out of situations, sneak around like a thief, or just be that guy who swings first and asks questions never. And yeah, your choices actually matter. People remember what you do, and it changes how they treat you. Graphically, the game is stunning, the landscapes are ridiculously detailed, the lighting is beautiful, and everything just looks right. Sure, there's some bugs, because of course there are, but nothing that ruins the experience. Bottom line is that Kingdom Come: Deliverance 2 is one of the most immersive RPGs you'll ever play. It's not for everyone, it doesn't hold your hand and it demands patience, but if you're into deep, realistic medieval adventures where every decision counts, this game will completely take over your life.
You have to fight till the bitter end.
A Plague Tale Games. Now these games are made by a studio called Azubo Studio, and they really hit a sweet spot as games that are like actually amazing stories. Like don't have the absolutely massive budget of something like a Grand Theft Auto or a Call of Duty, but they use every single bit of their resources to create something truly special. They show that you don't need billions of dollars to tell a powerful story and deliver a truly amazing experience. The whole idea behind these games is pretty heavy. They drop you right into a super dark version of medieval France during the terrifying time of the Black Death. It's not just a sickness in this world, though, it's also tied to these absolutely massive swarming hordes of plague-carrying rats, like millions of them. You mainly play as Amicia Darun, a teenage girl who is desperately trying to protect her younger brother, Hugo. Hugo has some kind of mysterious, magical connection to the plague and the rats, and because of this, they're both being hunted down by the scary Inquisition, like a religious police force, and, of course, those endless waves of hungry, biting rats. These games are mostly about stealth and puzzle solving. You're usually outnumbered and outmatched by soldiers and even the rats, so running and gunning isn't an option. Amicia is not a super soldier, she's just a girl with a slingshot, at least at first. A big part of the gameplay revolves around light and darkness. The rats hate light, so you're constantly finding ways to use torches, braziers, or special alchemical concoctions to scare them away, or create safe paths through areas swarming with them. If you step into the shadows without light, those rats will devour you in seconds, and it's pretty horrifying to watch. You also have to use the rats against your human enemies sometimes by extinguishing their lights and letting the rats do the dirty work. You'll use alchemy a lot too. Amicia can craft different types of ammunition for her slingshot or other tools. She can make fire pots to light things up, smoke bombs to distract enemies, or even potions to attract rats to certain spots. Later in the second game, Amicia gets a bit more capable in direct combat, but it's still about being smart and strategic, not just rushing in. Hugo also has his own special abilities related to the rats, which become a huge part of solving puzzles and getting through areas.
happening to me, Lucas? I feel my mind going.
I know. Think of your brother. We have to carry on.
Let's go. Clair Obscur Expedition 33. This game is a fantastic example of a modern AA gem that's doing something really special. It might not have the mega budget of a Final Fantasy or a Starfield, but it's packing so much creativity and polish that it's seriously challenging those big hitters. First off, the setting is absolutely wild and gorgeous. Imagine a dark fantasy world, but instead of dusty castles, you're in something inspired by Belle Epoque France. Think late 1800s, but with a surreal, magical, and totally haunting twist. Every year, a terrifying being called the Paintress uses a cursed number to erase everyone on the planet who reaches that age. And guess what? This year, the number is 33, so you're part of Expedition 33, a group of volunteers all aged 33 on a desperate quest to literally find and stop this Paintress before everyone their age disappears. How's that for a chilling premise? It's visually stunning, unique, and just dripping with atmosphere.
Wait, I hear something.
But where this game really shines and earns its mind-blower status is its turn-based combat system. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking, turn-based, snooze, but Clair Obscur flips that on its head by adding real-time elements that keep you totally engaged. You got your traditional turns, picking actions, but then, when it's time to attack or defend, you're actually dodging, parrying, and chaining combos with timed button presses. It's like they took the strategic depth of classic JRPGs and injected it with the adrenaline of an action game. It makes every fight feel active and intense, not just a menu clicking chore. You're controlling a party of really cool characters, each with their own unique skills and abilities, and you get to craft unique builds for them. Plus, the enemies you face, called Nevrons, are these bizarre, surreal, and often terrifying creatures that fit perfectly into the game's dark fantasy vibe. Lies of P. Now, when this bad boy first showed its face, a lot of folks, bless their hearts, probably looked at it and thought, oh, another Souls-like, huh? Probably just a copycat. And yet, on the surface, it's totally got that challenging dodge and parry vibe, and it looks a bit like Bloodborne's darker, meaner cousin. But that's where the critics, or anyone who just gave it a quick glance, really missed the forest for the twisted mechanical trees. This game isn't just a clone, it's a masterpiece that takes inspiration and absolutely runs with it, creating something truly unique and mind-blowingly good for an AA title. First things first, let me tell you about the world of Krat. Man, oh man. Imagine stepping into a dark, gothic fairy tale that's been twisted into a nightmare, but in the most stunning, most haunting way possible. We're talking gorgeous, Belle Epoque-inspired architecture, all those fancy 19th century European vibes, but now it's crumbling and overrun by horrifying, murderous puppets. It's beautiful and utterly terrifying at the same time. And you're playing as P, a puppet who wakes up in this mess trying to become human. It's the Pinocchio story, but if Pinocchio joined a metal band and fought for his life in a city gone mad. How cool is that? But where this game truly blows your mind and demands your respect is its combat system. Get ready, because this ain't no button-mashing fiesta. This is a deliberate, precise, and unbelievably satisfying dance of death. It's gonna kick your butt, no lie, but it's gonna teach you how to fight too. You're gonna learn to perfectly time your parries, to dodge like a pro and to spot those tiny openings. And here's the kicker. If you block an attack, you can regain some of that lost health by quickly landing hits back. It's called Guard Regain, and it makes every single exchange feel incredibly tense and rewarding. Yakuza Like a Dragon. You play as Ichiban Kasuga, a low-level Yakuza who goes to prison for a crime he didn't commit, thinking he's doing something honorable for his clan, but when he finally gets out 18 years later, he finds out everything's changed. His old boss betrayed him, the world moved on, and he's basically been forgotten. So yeah, dude's rock bottom, but instead of turning bitter, Ichiban stays positive, loyal, and hopeful, and that's what makes him stand out. He's not a brooding anti-hero, he's a full-on RPG nerd who literally sees life like a turn-based game. And that's where things get really fun. Unlike past Yakuza games, this one ditches real-time brawling and goes full turn-based RPG like classic Final Fantasy style. You've got a full party, each with their own job class, which is hilarious by the way since you're fighting on the streets of Yokohama. One guy can be a breakdancer, another throws pigeons at enemies, one uses a frying pan. It's absurd but also kinda genius. The game treats street brawls like full RPG battles, complete with status effects, buffs, elemental damage, the whole deal. The city of Ijincho is your big open world zone. It's not as massive as something like Cyberpunk or Witcher 3, but it's packed with stuff to do. Side stories, mini-games, secret dungeons, item collecting, crafting, even running your own company. Seriously, there's a whole business management sim in here. The world feels lived in, not because it's massive, but because it's dense, with weird, funny, emotional things to stumble into. Story-wise, it's got that Yakuza drama, betrayal, loyalty, crime family politics, emotional twists, but with Ichiban at the center, it feels fresh and more heartfelt. He's a dork, but he's got heart. And watching him build a found family from total strangers is honestly one of the best parts of the whole thing. Now yeah, some folks might say it's not open world enough, but honestly, the amount of freedom you get in Ijincho combined with all the RPG systems, the insane job classes, and the story branching, it 100% earns a spot on a best open world RPG list. Yakuza Like a Dragon is weird, funny, deep, and totally unique. And if you want something that mixes turn-based RPG combat with street-level storytelling and a ton of heart, this game hits hard. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. One of the most hyped RPGs of the last few years, and honestly one of the wildest mixes of modern blockbuster design and classic JRPG vibes you'll find today. So first off, this is the second part of the FF7 remake trilogy, and it picks up right after the crew escapes Midgar. You're playing as Cloud, the spiky-haired merc who's still trying to figure out what's going on with his memories, his past, and this whole situation with Sephiroth, who's somehow back and more confusing than ever. But you've also got your full team now: Tifa, Aerith, Barrett, and Bread 13. And as the story goes on, you even meet more playable characters like Yuffie and Kate Sith. It's a stacked lineup. But let's talk about the open world, because yeah, this is where Rebirth really goes all out. The game opens up in a big way. You're exploring full zones that look like something out of a high-end movie. Forests, coastlines, mountain paths, towns with personality. Each area feels handcrafted, and it's all connected by chocobo travel, vehicles, and side activities. It's not quite go anywhere anytime open world, but it's way more open than the first game, and honestly it feels great. There's a lot to do too. You've got classic side quests, chocobo races, mini games like Queen's Blood, the card game, materia hunting, hidden bosses, and optional storylines that give you more backstory on the world and your companions. It can get a little Ubisoft style at times, lots of icons and collectibles, but the good news is most of it's optional. If you just want to stick to the main story, you can still get a tight, focused experience, and if you love doing everything, you'll have 80 plus hours easy. Combat is still that awesome hybrid real-time / turn-based system from Remake, but Rebirth adds way more depth. You've got synergy skills between party members, more enemy types, and way more freedom to build out each character's loadout with material weapons and abilities. It's smooth, fast, and just straight up fun. Like, it makes grinding feel good. Now the story, man, it's both faithful and totally not faithful to the original. If you played the old FF7, you'll recognize key moments, but the writers have definitely gone in new directions. Some of it is bold, some of it confusing, and yeah, there's a lot of mystery stuff with alternate timelines or realities or whatever, but the heart of the story, Cloud's identity, the group's bond, the conflict with Sephiroth, it's all still there, just with more depth and emotion. Visually, it's gorgeous. Some of the best character models, environments, and animations you'll see in any RPG today. And the cutscenes? Straight up cinema. Square Enix always goes hard with presentation, and Rebirth is no exception. Now here's the thing, it's not perfect. There's a bit of open world bloat, some quests are forgettable, and it can be a lot to follow, especially if you're not deep into Final Fantasy lore. Plus, it's only part 2 of a trilogy, so don't expect full closure. But overall, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is a damn good open world RPG. It mixes classic character-driven storytelling with modern design, keeps combat fun and deep, and builds out a world that's beautiful and exciting to explore. If you liked Remake, or even if you're just curious about why people love Final Fantasy so much, this is one of the best ways to experience it.
All I want is one thing. To keep the others safe.
It's upon us. The reunion. When worlds merge.
Batman Arkham Knight. Batman Arkham Knight is the kind of game that doesn't try too hard to be flashy, but still ends up feeling like a full-on Batman movie you get to play. It's dark, smooth, and keeps things serious without going off the rails. Out of all the Arkham games, this one probably looks and feels the most like something you'd see on the big screen, just with you behind the controller. The game starts off with Gotham basically falling apart. Scarecrow's back, threatening to hit the whole city with his fear gas, so people evacuate, leaving behind a ghost town full of thugs and weirdos. It's just Batman, his crew, and a whole bunch of bad guys running around. That's where you step in. You get dropped right into it, no long tutorials or anything. Just you, your suit, and a city to clean up, and it plays super smooth. Whether you're gliding through the air, diving between rooftops, or jumping straight into a fight, everything feels responsive and easy to control. The game never gets in your way. One of the biggest things people talk about with this game is the Batmobile, since this is the first Arkham game that lets you actually drive it around the city. Some folks didn't love it, but honestly, it works fine. It's fast, it can transform into a tank, and you can even use it during fights or puzzles. It's not perfect, but once you get used to it, it's fun to use and it makes you feel more like Batman. The city of Gotham looks amazing too. It's big but not empty. It's not stuffed with boring side content like other open world games. Everything has a purpose. The rain, the lighting, the glowing signs, it all adds to the mood. It never feels too colorful or fake. It just feels right for Batman. Now the story here isn't just about stopping Scarecrow. There's this new villain, the Arkham Knight, who knows all about Batman and seems to really hate him. The mystery around who he is builds up slowly, and while some players might see it coming, it still plays out in a cool way. And then there's Joker. Yeah, even though he's dead, he's still hanging around in Batman's head, messing with him. Those moments are actually some of the best parts. It shows a different side of Batman, tired, paranoid, and kind of broken, but still pushing forward. The combat is classic Arkham stuff, super fluid. You press a few buttons and Batman's flipping, punching, countering, using gadgets mid-fight. It all feels natural and looks good without you needing to memorize a bunch of combos. Same with the stealth sections. Sneaking through vents, dropping from ledges, quietly taking people out one by one. It's all really satisfying, especially when you plan it right and no one even sees you coming. So yeah, Arkham Knight is one of the best examples of a cinematic game done right. It keeps the focus on the story, lets you move through the city at your own pace, and never overwhelms you with extra nonsense. It respects your time, looks great, and feels like you're living out the final chapter of Batman's story. Not watching it, but actually being the guy in the suit. Cyberpunk 2077 and Phantom Liberty. Cyberpunk 2077 throws you into Night City, a wild, futuristic place where giant corporations pull the strings, people casually upgrade their bodies with tech, and survival usually means hustling hard. You play as V, a hired gun who takes on a gig that seriously backfires, leaving you stuck with the digital ghost of Johnny Silverhand.
Consequences.
The game is, it's a mix of gritty action, deep personal choices, and a strange, sometimes intense friendship that messes with your head in more ways than one. Now look, yeah, the game had a rough launch, but with all the patches, it's finally the badass RPG we were promised. Combat feels way smoother, driving doesn't suck anymore, cops actually work, finally, and the skill tree got a full overhaul. You can build V however you want, stealthy hacker, katana-wielding ninja, guns-blazing tank, it all feels good now. And the world is, man, Night City is insane. Every street has a vibe, the people are wild, and there's always something sketchy going on. It's dense, stylish, and dripping with atmosphere. You'll walk into a ramen shop for a side quest and accidentally get pulled into a political conspiracy. Now, Phantom Liberty, this expansion changes everything. It's a full-blown spy thriller set in a new part of the city called Dogtown. It's grimy, locked down, and run by this sketchy warlord who plays by his own rules. What makes Phantom Liberty so good is how grounded and personal it feels. It's darker, more serious, and the writing is some of the best in the whole game. The choices hit hard, and the consequences? Yeah, you'll feel them. It also adds new gear, cyberware, vehicles, weapons, you name it. By the end of it all, the new endings, yes, new endings might change how you feel about everything in the base game. Not even joking, it's emotional, heavy, and totally worth seeing. Bottom line, Cyberpunk 2077 with Phantom Liberty is finally living up to the hype. It's a wild mix of action RPG, storytelling, and freedom set in one of the coolest game worlds ever made. If you skipped it before or dropped it early, now's the time to dive back in. The Elder Scrolls Skyrim. Alright, look, Skyrim is that one RPG almost everyone's heard of, even if they've never played it. And honestly, there's a reason people are still talking about it over a decade later, and yeah, buying it again for the 14th time. You start the game as a prisoner, classic Elder Scrolls move, seconds away from getting your head chopped off. Then, boom, dragon attack. Chaos breaks out, you escape, and pretty soon, you find out you're the Dragonborn, someone who can absorb dragon souls and yell magical words so hard it sends people flying. No big deal. From there, you're pretty much free to do whatever the hell you want. Want to follow the main story and fight ancient dragons? Cool! Want to join a guild of sneaky assassins or become a powerful mage? Go for it. Prefer to just run around stealing cheese wheels and adopting orphans? Sure, why not? Skyrim doesn't care how you play, it just wants you to explore and live your own little fantasy life. The world is huge and beautiful in that rugged Nordic kind of way. Snowy mountains, haunted ruins, cozy little villages. It's got that I'll just explore for 10 more minutes vibe, and then suddenly it's 3 AM. There are quests everywhere, and even the small ones can lead to cool stories or weird moments, like getting drunk with a stranger and waking up in a temple with a goat you borrowed. And we gotta talk about mods. The modding community for Skyrim is insane. People have added new quests, better graphics, whole new regions, even turned the game into freaking Star Wars. On PC, it's basically a never-ending game. The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. The Witcher 3 is one of those games that'll suck you in and not let go. You play as Geralt of Rivia, a monster hunter who's got the whole grizzled hero thing down. He's tough, got white hair, and uses magic and swords to take down crazy monsters. But beyond the fighting, The Witcher 3 is all about deep stories and making choices that actually matter. The main plot is about Geralt trying to find his adopted daughter Ciri, who's being hunted by these creepy guys called the Wild Hunt. But the game's not just about tracking her down, it's about diving into the messed up world around you. There's political drama, moral dilemmas, and a lot of personal stories that hit you right in the feels. It's one of those games where you're always questioning what's right and what's wrong. Every decision you make could have big consequences. The world is insane, it's huge, detailed, and absolutely gorgeous. You've got everything from lush forests to creepy swamps, war-torn towns, and snowy mountain peaks. Everywhere you go, there's something to do, whether it's a main quest or just random side stuff. And the side quests aren't like filler, some of them are just as deep as the main story. You'll be saving towns, helping out monsters, and even getting wrapped up in weird dark stories that make you question if you did the right thing. Combat's fun too. It's not like a hack and slash, but it's satisfying. You've got swords, magic, and alchemy to mix up your style. Fighting monsters is a mix of strategy and skill. You'll be using the right magic and preparing with potions and bombs to take down some of the weirdest creatures you've ever seen. The expansions are also top tier. Hearts of Stone is dark and full of twists, while Blood and Wine is like a whole new adventure in a beautiful wine region. Both are totally worth playing. Pentiment. Man, this game is different, like really different from most RPGs out there. It's from Obsidian Entertainment, the same folks who did Fallout New Vegas and Pillars of Eternity, but this is a total change of pace. Instead of epic fantasy or sci-fi, Pentiment throws you way back in time to 16th century Bavaria. You play as Andreas Mahler, a talented artist working in a scriptorium at a monastery. Scriptoriums were basically workshops where they hand-copied books before printing was widespread, so right off the bat, you know this isn't your typical sword and sorcery setup. The game unfolds like a historical mystery. A murder happens in the community and Andreas gets caught up in trying to solve it. But it's not just about finding a killer. The game spans over 25 years, and your choices and the way you investigate the initial crime have long-lasting consequences on the town, the people in it, and even the history of the region. What's super unique about Pentiment is its art style. It looks like a medieval manuscript come to life, with hand-drawn characters and environments that are just gorgeous and really evoke the period. Even the text appears on the screen in a way that mimics old handwriting. It's visually stunning and unlike anything else out there. The gameplay is very narrative focused. You'll be spending a lot of time talking to people, investigating clues, and making dialogue choices that influence the story and your relationships with the other characters. There's no real combat or traditional RPG leveling system. Your progression comes from the knowledge you gain and the impact your decisions have on the community. Pentiment is all about immersing you in this historical setting and letting you unravel its mysteries. You'll learn about the daily lives of people in the 16th century, the religious and political tensions of the time, and the slow march of history. It's a game that really makes you think and consider the consequences of your actions over a long period. Baldur's Gate 3. Okay, if we're discussing isometric RPGs, then Baldur's Gate 3 is the one that's been all the buzz, and for good reason. This one takes all that was good with the original Baldur's Gate series and turns it up to an all-new level, and trust me, it knocks it out of the park in almost every way imaginable. So the game starts out with your character infected with a mind flare tadpole, basically a nasty little creature that's trying to turn you into one of those nasty brain-munching abominations. But here's the twist. You're not overwhelmed right away, you instead gain some wacky powers and have to struggle to survive, trying to come up with a means of killing this parasite before it takes complete control of you. Not bad, huh? But that's where the game truly excels. Choice. Like, this isn't a game where you're on some blind path, no way. This is one where every decision matters. Big time. You can be good, bad, or somewhere in between, and your decisions make a difference. Who you socialize with, how you get out of trouble, what quests you take, and how the entire world around you reacts. It all hinges on what you do. It's like you're creating your own story, and that's one of the most fulfilling things about Baldur's Gate 3. Now let's discuss the combat where the Dungeons and Dragons comes in. If you've ever played D&D, you'll feel right at home. The game employs D&D 5th edition rules, so you've got turn-based combat that's both tactical and deep. It's not all about bashing your way through everything though. You've got to think ahead, use your abilities well, and really utilize your terrain. Want to set up a trap with the terrain? You can. Want to pick away at an enemy group from a distance with a well-placed spell? That's up to you. It's all about strategy, and man, when you execute a flawless plan, it feels so damn good. But what truly makes this game stand out is the freedom. Want to take the straight and narrow and play through the main story? Be my guest. But if you're feeling something else, and let's be honest, who isn't? You can do something entirely different. You can skip a whole lot of quests or even wipe out an entire faction if you want to. The world is open and you can do whatever you want with it. Planescape Torment.
You know, I've learned some new tricks.
So if we're talking isometric RPGs, like the real deal top-down old school deep dive kind of stuff, Planescape Torment is one of those games that straight up defines the genre. It's not just some random classic people throw around to sound cool. You play as this immortal dude called the Nameless One. He's basically been around forever but keeps forgetting who the hell he is, so the game kicks off with you waking up in a damn morgue, and it just gets wilder from there. And trust me, the setting is not your usual medieval fantasy with elves and goblins and whatever. This is Planescape. It's gritty, it's philosophical, it's kinda gross at times, and it's full of bizarre places that feel like they were pulled straight from some fever dream. Now, I'm not gonna lie, this game's super heavy on dialogue, like a lot of it, but the writing is fire. It actually makes you care about what people say, and your choices matter in ways you don't expect. It's less about fighting and more about thinking, talking, exploring, and just soaking in that world. And yeah, the isometric style, it nails that old school CRPG vibe, where you're clicking around, digging through dialogue trees, and planning your every move from that top-down view. So yeah, if you're down for a slower paced but super rich and meaningful RPG that really leans into that classic isometric style, like you're reading a damn fantasy novel but you're in control, Planescape Torment is a must.
This much fun since the last time.
Damn. Been warped.
Hi-Fi Rush. Hi-Fi Rush is straight up one of the most fun hack and slash games to come out in years. It's got that perfect mix of slick combat, over-the-top action, and a killer soundtrack that makes every fight feel like a freaking music video. If you love games that don't take themselves too seriously but still deliver an insanely polished experience, this one's a must-play. You play as Chai, a wannabe rock star who gets caught up in a shady cybernetic experiment and accidentally ends up with an MP3 player fused into his frickin' heart. That means everything around him, his movements, attacks, even the damn environment, syncs to the beat of the music, and let me tell you, it's addicting. The combat doesn't just encourage you to stay on rhythm, it outright rewards you for it. Attacks hit harder, combos flow smoother, and even dodging feels more stylish when you time it with the beat. It's like playing Devil May Cry, but your combo game is your sense of rhythm. The gameplay is just pure joy. You're slicing through enemies with Chai's makeshift guitar weapon, pulling off flashy aerial combos, and dodging attacks like you're part of some synchronized rock concert. The best part? Even if you're not perfect at staying on beat, the game doesn't punish you too hard, but when you do lock into the rhythm and start stringing together perfectly timed hits, damn, it feels good. And the enemy variety? Solid. You've got security bots, crazy mechanical beasts, and big boss fights that all move in sync with the soundtrack. The game constantly throws new challenges at you, keeping things fresh. The bosses in particular are some of the most creative fights I've seen in a hack and slash game, with each one having its own unique mechanics that force you to adapt and keep the rhythm going. But honestly, what makes Hi-Fi Rush special is the vibe. It's got this colorful, animated art style that feels like a playable Saturday morning cartoon, mixed with an attitude that's just fun without being cringy. Chai himself is a lovable goofball, and the whole cast is packed with personality. You've got a talking robotic cat, a badass hacker ally, and a bunch of quirky villains that feel straight out of a comic book. It's all super lighthearted, but it works. It's also super accessible. Unlike a lot of rhythm-based games, Hi-Fi Rush doesn't force you to be perfect, it just encourages you to play in sync with the music, so whether you're a rhythm game pro or just someone who loves stylish action, it's a blast. Long story short, this is one of the freshest, most creative hack and slash games in years. It's got energy, personality, and some of the smoothest, most rewarding combat out there. If you haven't played Hi-Fi Rush yet, fix that immediately. Devil May Cry 5. So Devil May Cry 5 is just one of those games, man. You pick it up, play for like 5 minutes, and immediately go, yep, this is some peak action gaming right here. It's got that smooth, addictive combat that just feels better the more you play. Every hit, every dodge, every insane mid-air combo. There's this level of polish that makes you feel like an absolute god once you start getting the hang of it. And the best part is, no matter how crazy skilled you get, the game always pushes you to go even further. You land a sick combo, and instead of thinking, nice, I did it, you immediately start thinking about how you can make it look even cooler next time. That's the kind of game this is, and the variety is just insane. You don't just get one playstyle and stick with it, you've got 3 completely different characters, each with their own ridiculous movesets. Nero is the easiest to get into. He's got that grappling hook arm that lets him pull enemies in or launch himself straight at them, plus his sword revs up like a damn motorcycle to add extra damage to his swings. And then there's his devil breakers, which are basically these crazy robotic arms that give him new abilities depending on which one one he's got equipped. You can shoot a massive energy beam, freeze time, ride a freaking rocket punch like a skateboard. It's just pure chaos in the best way possible. Then you've got V, who plays completely different from any other character in the series. Instead of fighting directly, he controls 3 summoned creatures: a panther that slashes enemies, a bird that shoots lightning, and a giant freaking demon that smashes everything in sight. And here's the wild part, you actually have to finish enemies off yourself after your summons weaken them. So you're just hanging back, commanding these beasts to do all the dirty work, then strolling up all cool and collected to land the finishing blow. Feels like playing on easy mode at first, but once the game starts throwing tougher enemies at you, you realize you actually have to manage all 3 creatures at once while dodging attacks, which makes it surprisingly intense. And then there's Dante. I don't even know where to start with this dude. He's got so many weapons and fighting styles that it almost feels illegal. One second you're slicing through demons with a sword, the next you're juggling them in the air with dual pistols, and then out of nowhere you pull out a goddamn motorcycle that splits in half and turns into 2 giant chainsaws. And that's not even mentioning his different combat styles that let you change how he moves and attacks mid-fight. Trickster gives him crazy mobility, Swordmaster unlocks even more ridiculous melee moves, Gunslinger turns his ranged weapons into something out of an anime, and Royal Guard lets you block and counter like some kind of god-tier parry master. The way you can mix and match all of this in real time just makes combat feel unreal. And I haven't even gotten into how good the presentation is. This game is straight up gorgeous. Capcom went all in with the RE engine, and it shows. The character models look insanely detailed, the environments are drenched in style, and every single attack, every single movement just oozes personality. The animations alone make combat satisfying. There's just something about the way Dante twirls his sword or Nero revs up his Red Queen that makes you want to keep playing just to see how smooth everything looks. Days Gone.
We don't have hope.
Days Gone is one of those games that sneaks up on you. At first, it just seems like another zombie game, but the more you play, the more you realize it's way deeper than that. It's not just about fighting off freakers, zombies, it's about surviving in a brutal world, holding on to hope, and watching your character slowly break and rebuild. And because the game is huge and packed with things to do, you'll probably spend over 100 hours without even realizing it. The open world itself is what pulls you in. It's grim, lonely, and strangely beautiful. You'll be riding your motorcycle across forests, mountains, and abandoned towns, and while it looks peaceful at times, you're always one bad decision away from disaster. You'll run into ambushes, traps, or massive freaker hordes, and you'll have to think fast or get absolutely wrecked. The game constantly keeps you on edge, making every ride feel dangerous but exciting. And man, the freaker hordes are no joke. The first time you stumble across one, you'll probably panic and run for your life. These aren't your typical slow zombies. They're fast, aggressive, and absolutely relentless. The game doesn't ease you into them either. You'll be minding your own business and suddenly hear hundreds of freakers screaming in the distance, charging at you like a tidal wave of death. It's terrifying and thrilling, and even when you're powerful, they never stop being a genuine threat. But it's not just about the action. The story and characters actually hit surprisingly hard. You play as Deacon St. John, a drifter and biker who's haunted by the loss of his wife. At first, he comes off as cold and reckless, but as the game goes on, you see his layers. He's loyal, vulnerable, and genuinely broken, which makes his journey really personal. The relationship between Deacon and his best friend Boozer is easily one of the highlights. Their brotherly bond feels real, and watching them struggle with loss, hope, and survival makes the story surprisingly emotional. And let's talk about the crafting and survival mechanics, because that's where the game really shines. You'll scavenge for parts, craft molotovs, traps, and ammo, and constantly repair your bike. And your bike? It's basically a character of its own. You'll upgrade it, paint it, and treat it like your lifeline, because without it, you're screwed. Running out of gas in the middle of nowhere is genuinely terrifying, especially when you're low on ammo and surrounded by freakers. The game's also packed with side content. You'll clear out enemy camps, hunt for collectibles, and take on side missions that sometimes feel just as meaningful as the main quest. There's also a real sense of progression. As you upgrade Deacon's skills and your gear, you'll go from barely surviving to taking on entire hordes like a total badass. Ghost of Tsushima. There aren't many games that make you stop mid-quest just to stare at the scenery, but Ghost of Tsushima does. It's the kind of game where you'll be riding through a forest of golden leaves or across a misty shoreline and suddenly forget you're supposed to be saving your homeland. The world is just that breathtaking. But don't let the pretty flowers fool you. This game will keep you busy for well over 100 hours if you want to see everything. What makes Tsushima so addictive isn't just the gorgeous open world, though it's how alive it feels. You're constantly stumbling onto hidden shrines, freeing villages from Mongol invaders, or following foxes to secret charms. And even though the map is massive, it never feels empty. Every corner has something worth exploring, whether it's a piece of lore, a duel against a wandering swordsman, or a scenic cliff you'll spend way too long admiring. And then there's the combat, which is where the game really gets its hooks into you. It's sharp, stylish, and incredibly satisfying. The duels feel like something straight out of a samurai film, with Jin and his enemies circling each other, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. When you time a perfect parry and cut your opponent down in one clean slash, you'll feel like a legend, and the stance system adds real depth, forcing you to switch fighting styles on the fly based on your enemy. It keeps the combat fresh and tactical, even 50 hours in. But where Tsushima really eats up your time is in its side content. You'll swear you're only gonna do the main story, but before you know it, you're chasing foxes, tracking down haikus, and wiping out every Mongol camp on the island. Then there's the Iki Island expansion, which adds a new region with tougher enemies, more side quests, and a storyline that actually expands Jin's character. Persona 3. This game is a bit different from your typical RPG. It's a JRPG for sure, but it mixes in this social simulation stuff that's really interesting. Imagine being a high school student going to class, hanging out with friends, and also fighting monsters in a hidden hour of the day. That's Persona 3. You play this transfer student who shows up at Gakukan High School, and you quickly discover this weird thing called the Dark Hour. It's like time freezes for everyone except you and a few other people. Everyone else turns into coffins and these creepy shadow monsters come out. You and a group of other students are able to enter the Dark Hour and fight these shadows using these powerful beings called personas. Think of them like spiritual manifestations of your personality. The story is about this group of students, their personal struggles, and the mystery behind the Dark Hour. It's a pretty heavy story dealing with stuff like grief, loss, and finding your place in the world. What makes Persona 3 so unique is the social sim part. It's not just about grinding levels and fighting monsters. You spend a lot of time building relationships with your classmates and other people you meet. These relationships, they're called social links, and they actually make your personas stronger. It's a really clever system. It makes you care about the characters, and it ties into the gameplay in a meaningful way. You're not just hanging out with people for fun, you're strengthening your team. The combat is turn-based, but it's strategic. Each persona has its own strengths and weaknesses, and you have to use them smartly to beat the shadows. It's like a puzzle. You have to figure out the best combination of personas to use against each enemy. And you can fuse personas together to create even stronger ones, which is really satisfying. It's not just about having a powerful persona, it's about having the right persona for the job. Persona 3 is a long game, it takes a while to get through it, but it's a really rewarding experience. It's a unique game that blends compelling characters, strategic combat, and a really interesting story. It makes you think about some pretty deep stuff, but it's also fun and engaging. If you're into JRPGs or you're just looking for something different, I definitely recommend Persona 3.
Only one left.
You showed them Aragaki-senpai?
Sure.
That's 2 for 1!
Persona!
That's a win for the team!
Let's get going.
Good job, everyone!